Mike Fisher here on a Cowboy bye weekend, but they're very active, the Cowboys are, as the Michael Bennett trade has gone down and all the responses coming in. Let's try to walk you through some of this. I could just tell you what people in the building think. And Cowboy Nation can decide, oh, I always hated that guy, or I never did like his brother, or why can't these players just toe the line and do what they're told? Obviously, Michael Bennett is not exactly that guy. Michael Bennett is a guy who's, over the course of 147 games played, and I think 65.5 sacks, is a guy that plays on the field at a very high level, three-time Pro Bowler, and then goes into the locker room and says what he thinks. And a lot of what he thinks in the last couple of years has been about social injustice. In the Cowboys' view and the view of the Joneses, there is a place for that. And that place isn't for the 4 minutes before the game during the playing of the national anthem. That, by the way, I know one of the newspapers made that to be a big issue here. That's not an issue with Michael Bennett at this time, to my knowledge. That's still in his heart and it's still in his head, but those 4 minutes are not an issue anymore. Same thing with Robert Quinn, who has similar views on social injustice in America. By the way, there's other Cowboys who do too. And what many of them have done is decide that for those 4 minutes, I'm going to do what my boss wants me to do. And then for the 3 hours during the game, I'm going to do what my boss needs me to do. And then I'm going to spend a lot of times on Monday and Tuesday doing what I think needs to be done in the community. And as I've said before, and I'll say it to you again, each of us gets to decide what we want to do. As long as we're not, driving down the wrong way on a one-way street, each of us gets to decide what we want to do. What the Cowboys have done is research. And you'll have to trust me on this, the conversations that I had on Thursday night, right after the deal went down, with the highest power people involved, the most locked in people involved to this trade. They did their research. That's not a promise it's going to work. But Stephen Jones department, Will McClay department, Jason Garrett department, they did their research. And what they found, quote, to me from a source, Michael Bennett loves football. Now, he has opinions, and he has a mind of his own, and he speaks his mind, but he loves football. And as you know, if you followed the Cowboys under Will McClay, that's line one in his office, up on that white erase board, that dry erase board that he has. He's got 5 tenets of who we should draft and who we should get and who we should like. And number one is, does he like football? They've got that question answered to their satisfaction here in Dallas. Negative framework. Yeah, there's a few of those. When Bill Belichick gives away a player, and this is a conditional 7th-round pick in 2021, that's a giveaway, that should be a red flag. But now go into what we know happened in the last 2 weeks in New England. Start with, I guess, 7 weeks ago when he was a starter in week 1 for a Patriots team that we now know is the most productive in all of football. Recognize that 6 weeks ago he was a starter, that 10 months ago he played against the Cowboys and destroyed the Cowboys. Dallas won that game last December, 29-23 over the Eagles when Bennett was with Philadelphia. But in that game, 7 tackles, 5 quarterback hits, forced fumble, 2 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, and 1.5 sacks. Michael Bennett can play even as this month he turns 34. You want to go before that? Over the course of the entirety of the 2018 season, he was top 4 in quarterback hits per snap. Go over the course of the last 5 years, he ranks top 4 as a defensive lineman who pressures the quarterback. So the numbers are there. The negative framework comes from New England, where he spoke out against his defensive line coach because he wasn't getting playing time, got suspended for it. Bill Belichick clearly decided, I'm going to be done here with this. We're going to take him off suspension, but he's going to be on thin ice. And then he comes back from suspension, Michael Bennett does this week, and when asked by the media in New England, so what'd you learn from this? What's your takeaway? His basic answer is, the only thing to take away here is they took away my money in suspension. This is America. I get to say what I want. And I think Bill Belichick, the combination of Bennett's declining fit there, maybe his declining play, but his declining fit, and then just deciding, listen, we just don't need that mouth that much, so let's ship him somewhere else. You'll note they don't ship him to another contender in the AFC. They don't ship him to the AFC East. They ship him as far away as they could to Dallas. although they'll see him again, assuming Bennett lasts around here, and there's no reason to think he won't at this time. It's the Cowboys at the Patriots on November 24th. I'll be there, of course. And then I said this on the radio this morning, and nobody laughed or anything. And I said, and then, of course, when the Cowboys play the Patriots in the Super Bowl, Bennett will be on the big stage again. And nobody laughed. Maybe that's a more realistic possibility than anybody thinks. Is Bennett a bad guy? I don't know him. I assume you don't know him either. He's not a criminal. He's not a domestic violence guy. He doesn't rob banks. What he does is speak out. And in a football world where we really do like our players to work in lockstep, not because we're Nazis. It just allows us to sleep better at night, knowing that everybody's going to show up for work tomorrow and everybody's going to do what they're told. And of course, that's not the way the real world always works. But that doesn't make this guy a bad guy. There is no evidence, according to the Cowboys, and then just do your own research. There's no evidence of bad guy. There is evidence of free spirit. There is that, like his brother, Martellus. Such a free spirit here that he, of course, famously clashed with Jason Witten, who was trying to mentor him and build him into being a Jason Witten-esque tight end, and Marty B wanted no part of that. I don't think this is a revisit of that. I'm going to assume that the Cowboys did their homework. I know they did. And as part of their homework, they made sure that this Bennett kid actually wants to be here and should be by the time we roll into practice next Tuesday at the Star. He might be a distraction, but he's not a criminal. He might be an issue, but he's not a bad guy that we know of. And we should be careful to recognize the difference. Jason Garrett knows the difference. Hey, he likes RKGs, doesn't he? Right kind of guys. But if you're the right kind of guy that gets 9 sacks a year, that's great. If you're the right kind of guy because you work hard enough to get 9 sacks, but then after the game you talk, and before the game you talk, and on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday again you talk, sometimes about things that aren't football because you are a free spirit, not necessarily a bad guy, well, that's going to have to be RKG enough. Especially, you'll notice when a coach is in the final year of his contract, he's a little more tolerant of saying, yeah, I think I will take that guy. Yeah, I think we should shoot that shot. Yeah, I think we should fire all our bullets here. And they've done this, by the way, now on Amari Cooper. I thought Amari Cooper didn't like football anymore. They did it with Robert Quinn. I thought Robert Quinn was out of gas. And now they've done it with Bennett. If they're as right on Bennett as they were on the last two veteran guys with reputations that they brought in here in trade, they'll be doing just fine, like more than fine. The contract is palatable. It's like $2 million left, prorated over the course of this rest of the year, and then not guaranteed next year. So that's $7 or $8 million salary, not guaranteed. So you can say goodbye to Bennett if you decide you don't like him. Rejuvenation, Jerry loves it. Jerry Jones loves the idea of rejuvenation and rehab of a guy's reputation. Chris Richard can help do that. Of course, he was with Bennett in Seattle, so that's a perfect fit. And again, I promise you, Jerry, Stephen, McClay, Garrett, Marinelli, Chris Richard, all of them in the end signed off on this in one way or the other. And I promise you, too, that Chris Richard was a PowerPoint there, that Chris Richard was probably the guy who said, trust me, I understand the concerns. Trust me, let's do this. And given the Cowboys personnel department work, and given the Cowboys coaching staff work at 4-3 now. You didn't like it so much when they were 0-3 in their last 3 games, but now that they beat Philadelphia, everything looks a lot rosy. So the Patriots run out of gas with him. The Cowboys have a need. The need was really defensive tackle that could stuff the run a bit, and that could still happen. I think the Cowboys stumbled onto this while they were shopping for exactly that. Tank Lawrence, who's given this a thumbs up, Robert Quinn, those are your 2 starting defensive ends. Obviously, Bennett folds in behind them. He can also play a little bit inside. He's at 6'4", 277. He's still got the power to do some things at 3 technique, so you've got that versatility there. And, yeah, I don't know that Michael Bennett is your starting 3 technique guy. Malik Collins does that. But you get to 3rd down and passing downs, and you have Tank and Quinn and Michael Bennett as 3 of the 4 down linemen. You're looking pretty fierce. We will continue to chronicle this. I'm going to visit with with Mark Holmes over Cowboy Joe Boo here in a little bit. And then, of course, our friend Law Nation has also been a big help and a contributor to what we do here. So keep an eye out for our work across all platforms as we hang out in the coming days at the Star. And then we'll be in New York, of course, for Cowboys at Giants next weekend as well. Fish out.